Joining me again from France, still on his holiday, is our regular commentator and very devoted guest of this show, for which we are grateful, GB News star presenter Patrick Christys. I wanted to make sure, Patrick, that you know it's appreciated. But anyway, what do you think Nigel's up to? Because I can't see how this is going to work for him.
Yeah, I mean, look, basically what's happened is that he is being hounded by the press over this. They've been turning up at his daughter's home, and say what you like about Nigel, he has never, ever, ever brought his family into politics. And that's really wound him up, that they've been doorstepping his daughter. Every single media interview now is always around this 5 million quid. And nothing really has changed in that. He's given his answer about it. There is an inquiry into it, and nothing has changed since then. So he's getting very frustrated. So I think what he thought he'd do is basically make the point that other political parties don't like people who earn money or have business acumen, which is why we have a parliament full of over-promoted school children. I'm going to call a by-election, just show everyone that the public doesn't care. The public doesn't care about this 5 million. But as you've identified, it's kind of backfired, because the only person standing against him now is a man called Count Binface, who dresses up as a trash bin. And it's just Farage versus Binface at the moment. But you've mentioned that he's probably going to win this by-election. He should win the by-election, obviously, even if it is just versus Binface. However, there is a serious risk here, Andrew, genuinely, that the man who is leading the party that is ahead in the polls and is probably going to be the next Prime Minister loses to a bloke dressed as a dustbin, and he's out of the running. And there is precedent for this in Britain. There is precedent. For 3 consecutive mayoral elections in a place called Hartlepool, a bloke who was a football mascot dressed as a monkey called Hangus the Monkey won. He did the hat-trick. He won 30 terms. So seriously, this is ludicrous. Nigel Farage, I hope he doesn't, but he might lose to a bloke dressed as a bin, and it's all ridiculous.
Yes, well, and there'll be many people, I think, maybe tempted to vote to get exactly that kind of very typical British kind of reaction. Monty Python, Goon Show, the whole catastrophe. These donations, though, I mean, it's not so much that people are resentful that he got rich when he wasn't in politics. It's more the issue is that he didn't declare it, right? How serious are these donations that he supposedly didn't declare?
So he says he wasn't politically active at the time. Now, there's always a very fine line with that with Nigel Farage. You know, Nigel Farage, as long as there's breath in his body, I suppose, is a political figure. However, he was not standing for mainstream politics. He was doing things like presenting a show on GB News. He was a social media influencer. He was on shows like I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here. That was his kind of life, right? So he says that there was a clear distinction between his public and his political life. And this donation of 5 million British pounds came then. And it was to spend on his security. And he's revealed a series of very high profile and very serious threats to his life, and he's going to need security for the rest of his life. What people who are criticising him for over this have not yet been able to do is they've not been able to provide a smoking gun in terms of what did Nigel do for the money other than spend it on security. What's the particular policy that he's well, they've not found that yet. And for a lot of people, look, you and I included, don't get me wrong, 5 million quid is a lot of money, but Nigel Farage is a very unique kind of guy, right? And he's made a lot of friends along the way, and there are a lot of people with a lot of money out there who do like him and are willing to help support him in his personal life. So that's where he's at.
Charity's fine. Subscribe to mine if they're out there. Meanwhile, Prince Harry is back in Britain, but again without Meghan Markle, his wife. But it's been a very unhappy return, Patrick. He came back to learn that he and 6 other celebrities, including Elton John, have lost their case against the Daily Mail, which they claimed was a wicked newspaper that had used illegal means to report on them. Harry has blasted the judge, saying it's a complete and obvious whitewash, but sadly not altogether unexpected. However, the lengths to which the court has gone to exonerate the Mail is as shocking as it is totally unwarranted. Bit dodgy, a royal attacking a judge like that, I've got to say. Was it a whitewash, or did Harry make claims against journalists he just couldn't back up?
Look, spanking for Prince Harry, and that's not one of the Daily Mail headlines that he was complaining about, okay? The judge dismissed 97 claims that Harry made. It's a 400-page court document, which you won't be able to read because it's not written in crayon. It's not a whitewash at all. He just was not able to prove anything. And Paul Dacre, who was in charge of the Mail at the time, has provided the quote of the day. Harry was taking the biscuit. There isn't a laundry in the cosmos big enough to dry the dirty linen he's aired about his own family. And on that, by the way, he's in London at the moment. And the rumour is that Meghan Markle isn't with him because the royals wanted her to sign an NDA that nothing of their meeting would be leaked, and she refused to sign it. That's just a rumour, but that indicates, if true, the kind of people they are. It could cost Harry and the other claimants here around £50 million. And I hope he has to pay up.
Whoa.
I hope he has to pay up.
Because Patrick, that is going to hurt. Yeah, well, he tried it. He threw the dice. He lost. You pay. But Patrick Christie's, thank you so much for your time.
The man who could be Britain's next Prime Minister is currently fighting for his political life against a chap dressed as a rubbish bin. I am not making this up. Nigel Farage has resigned his seat in Clacton, triggering a by-election. Every major party has taken one look and quietly backed away, which means Farage is essentially running unopposed, except for one small problem. His only real challenger is Count Binface. Yes, a grown man in a bin costume. Britain, ladies and gentlemen, where satire isn't a genre, it's a career path. Now, why would Farage risk this? He wanted to prove a point. There's been a storm over an undeclared £5 million donation reportedly funding his personal security after some genuinely serious threats. Critics say it should have been declared. Farage says he wasn't even a sitting politician at the time. He was doing GB News and reality telly. And here's the bit nobody's talking about. There's no smoking gun. No evidence of policy for cash, just a lot of noise and journalists parked outside his daughter's house, which, whatever your politics, is a grim look for the press. But here's the twist. This is where it gets properly dangerous for him, because history has receipts. Remember Angus the monkey? A man in a monkey suit who won the Hartlepool mayoralty. Not once, 3 times in a row. So the idea that a novelty candidate can't beat a serious politician isn't satire, it's precedent. If Farage, leader of the party topping national polls, loses his own seat to a bin, that's not a footnote, that's a headline for the history books. Right, let's swing across to the palace, because Prince Harry's had a rough week too. He took on the Daily Mail in court and lost spectacularly. 97 of his allegations simply didn't hold up. The judge's ruling was thorough, not some establishment stitch-up, whatever Team Sussex want you to believe. Paul Dacre didn't hold back either, branding Harry's conduct pretty scathing stuff. And now Harry could be staring down a legal bill north of £50 million. Meanwhile, word is Meghan skipped the UK trip entirely, allegedly refusing to sign a non-disclosure agreement about royal meetings. Make of that what you will. So, what's the thread connecting a bin-suited protest candidate and a runaway court case? Simple. The British public is done taking elites at their word, whether they're wearing a crown or standing for Parliament. Farage might survive Binface, Harry might survive the bill, but the scepticism, that's not going anywhere. Thanks so much for watching. We'll catch you in the next one.